Good morning, everyone. We're continuing today with Merging with Śiva, Chapter 52, entitled The Final Conclusions for All Mankind, written in 1978. Lesson 350, The Process of Evolution. When a beginning devotee comes to the temple to worship Śiva, he sees Śiva as a man, a person, not unlike himself, yet more than a man, for he is a God, the God of God, so powerful, so aware, and complete within himself that he is the center of endless universes. In coming to worship Śiva, this devotee prostrates himself before the deity, just as if he were in the presence of the grandest potentate, or majesty imaginable. Śiva is that to him. We know how wonderful it can be to approach a distinguished and honored personage. It makes us feel special. It brings out the best within us. The same thing happens to this man. He feels himself in the presence of the Supreme Lord, and he brings the best of himself to the temple. If he has a problem, if something is not going well in his family or in his business, he will come to the temple with special offerings. The priest takes the offering into the inner sanctum for the puja. During the puja it is blessed, and then some of it is returned to the worshipper to take back to his home, carrying the vibration of the temple into his everyday life. During puja, he will concentrate his efforts on opening himself to the divine influence of Lord Śiva. And as he leaves the temple, he will look for a break in the problem, for a new perspective to arise as a result of his worship in the temple. He will look for some telling signs from his environment. The way the lizard chirps, how many crows come down, and even what kind of people walk by his house. Perhaps the solution to his problem is simply a new way of seeing it, a different perspective that gives him the insight to handle the matter, or there may be a change in his external circumstances. As this man worships, he grows more and more devoted, becomes capable of a profound understanding of the rituals and practices of his early samskaras. From the practice of putting holy ash on his forehead and the feeling that goes through the nervous system whenever he does that, he begins to discover sound reasons for doing it, reasons he can confidently tell his children. His worship leads him little by little into new realms of consciousness. Another man, more refined and awakened, may have worshipped during the exact same puja. This devotee came to worship the same deity, but to him it was not only an ethereal being external to himself, he perceived it also as an essence pervading the universe, a oneness of pure consciousness flowing through all form, and he worshipped that Satchit Ananda in the sanctum and equally within himself. As the energies of the puja reached the crescendo, he could feel that pure essence of consciousness as himself. After the puja, he went to a secluded corner of the temple, there to meditate, to bask in the Kundalini energy awakened in him through his temple worship, until he knew himself as one with that vast sea of pure life energy and light. He went home feeling peaceful and calm, and just at one with everyone and everything that came along in his life. He has no awareness of time and just lives fully in the intensity of the moment. When he applies holy ash at the temple or in his shrine room at home, before he sits down to meditate, he sees it as the ash of those forces which hold him in individual consciousness, the forces of karma and ego and desire. He applies the ash so that it makes 3 distinct lines across the forehead. They are lines to impress him with the need to keep these 3 forces subdued in his life. This man lives in tune with the worship of Lord Shiva and the darshan he receives and opens up with within himself from that worship. Everything in his life flows smoothly and harmoniously. He is in touch with the divine voice within himself, and he follows it as his own will. His life is simple, and he feels himself complete. Neither fretting over the past nor worrying about the future, he lives totally in the present. His evolution is steady and graceful. He goes greater in his capacity to hold those moments of darshan he feels until he carries that darshan steadily through every aspect of his life. That is his only experience. He is a witness to what goes on around him, doing it perfectly but detached from the doing. He sees light within his head when he meditates, and that grows until he knows that the light is more real than anything he considers himself. That way his unfoldment continues. He comes to be purer and purer, more and more aware of the real. A third man living under strict vows and the guidance of his Satguru, having long ago perfected the harmony and discipline that allowed him to see himself as the pure consciousness within all beings, is immersed within states of contemplation, whether in a mountain cave or before a temple sanctum. His goal is to find the source of that energy, and the source of that source, and the source of that, until he realizes that Parashiva, the Absolute, beyond all form, he experiences himself and Shiva as one. Lesson 361, From Caterpillar to Butterfly. To all his devotees in their different stages of spiritual evolution, Lord Shiva is the Supreme God. To the first, he is the primal soul, the creator, preserver, and destroyer of existence. To the second, he is the primal soul as well as pure consciousness, the substratum of existence, the divine energy coursing through and animating every atom within the microcosm and the macrocosm. To the third, he is the manifest primal soul and pure consciousness and the unmanifest absolute, Parashiva, that transcends form itself. These 3 perspectives are not exclusive of one another, but encompass one another as the lotus of the mind opens to an ever-widening understanding of God. Each is true according to where the devotee is on the path. This eternal path is divided naturally into 4 separate categories. The Bhagavad Gita, the popular book which you all know from your studies in Vedanta, and which has made Hindu philosophy well known in America, defines these as 4 separate non-progressive paths, called Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. In Agamic scripture, these are defined a little differently and are considered to be 4 stages of a progressive path, termed Charya, Kriya, Yoga, and Jnana. These are all Sanskrit terms. According to the Agamic tradition, these 4 categories are the natural sequence of the soul's evolutionary process, much like the development of a butterfly from egg to larva, from larva to caterpillar, from caterpillar to pupa, and then the final metamorphosis from pupa to butterfly. Every butterfly, without exception, will follow this pattern of development, and every soul will mature through charya to kriya, through kriya to yoga, and into jnana. Charya or karma yoga may be simply defined as service. Kriya or bhakti yoga is devotion. Yoga or Raja Yoga is meditation, and jnana is the state of wisdom reached toward the end of the path as the result of God realization and the subsequent enlivened kundalini and unfoldment of the chakras through the practices of yoga. The soul does not move quickly from one stage to another. It is a deliberate process, and within each stage there exist vast libraries of knowledge containing the sum of thousands of years of teachings, unraveling that particular experiential vista. The evolution of the soul through the stage of charya or service may itself take many, many lives. We see people every day who are working to be of service, to be more efficient, to be more useful to others. They are not necessarily inclined toward devotion, yet they may be deeply concerned with humanitarian programs, with selflessly helping their fellow man. An entire life may be spent in charya, and the next life and the next. It is a slow process with its own timing. Not every stage of experience can be accepted at once. Path of charya begins with the avoidance of wrongful action and can be likened to the early training of a child in which he is told, don't do this instead. Don't behave in that way. This is the proper behavior. In early life, a child learns what is right by being told what not to do. In spiritual life, too, we have these avoidances, these restraints. The seeker is advised to avoid overeating, criticism of others, anger, hatred, envy, and deceit. This gives him guidelines that stabilize him in the beginning, controlling the instinctive mind. These inner reins help him to know what is right, help him to control his karma and to educate his intellect by laying a foundation of quiet within the instinctive mind, a foundation upon which the intellect may build a knowledgeable structure. Charya is a state of overcoming basic instinctive patterns and learning to work for the sake of work rather than the fruits of our labor. It is the simple fulfillment of right action and the first step on the spiritual path in our religion. Our duty to our parents, to our community, to the wife and children, to the temple in the town or village, all this must be fulfilled for charya to be perfected. One goes to the temple at this stage of unfoldment because it is expected of him. He goes there not to practice yoga, not to evolve a personal relationship with the deity, but because he must. It is his duty. His instinctive mind at this stage of his evolution is so strong that it must be governed firmly by external laws, external forces. He either obeys or suffers the consequences of disobedience. It is his fear of the consequences that motivates him more than anything else. Certainly he may feel guilty or fearful when he approaches the temple, for he is aware of his own transgressions and omissions. But little by little he gains confidence and understanding. His conscience begins to take the place of outer sanctions and gradually becomes his guideline. Whereas before he never felt guilty even for his worst transgressions, now he begins to feel remorse for misdeeds. Tendencies towards selfishness lose their hold on the devotee as he strives to become the perfect servant to God and mankind. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.